Hello.
Hello.
How are you,
How are
friend?
you? Oh, I'm good. How are you?
I'm good. And how are you, friends out there?
That's right. Hello,
Gosh, I wish I
everyone.
could see you all.
I know. Hmm.
Missing that human connection. I'm getting it through, cool ways, but it just is not the same.
I
But that's okay.
agree.
Yeah. So I'm excited. We are here again to talk about our real life positivity with Amy, and Jamie.
Yes.
And today, our topic that we have chosen to chat about is time. As I take a deep breath in, really process that, there's more time, but it's used in such unique ways right now. So we just wanted to chat about that, and here we are. So
Here
thanks
we
for
are.
tuning in.
Yes.
Mhm.
I know it's like such an obvious thing, but like a lot of obvious things, it could get like kind of overlooked or not talked about. So I'm really glad that we're gonna give some time to talking about time today. That was probably not funny.
Absolutely.
But anyway, just yeah, how we're using our time, what that mental process is like, what the expectations we have for ourselves and what expectations other people have maybe on how we should be using our time.
Yeah.
um, I heard a while back somebody say you shouldn't should on your friends, and you shouldn't should on yourself either. And I
Totally.
think with time, there's like a ton of that. Like, I should be doing this with my time, or just in a new when there's a new construct. It's like, what's this supposed to look like? Oh, I should be doing this. I should be doing this. That is, I think, what I'm hearing the most from people right now.
Totally. And like so many comparisons. I saw this meme. It was like, I don't know, over 2 weeks ago. It was like, it was a made up name. So I don't know. Let's like say, hey, Sally, slow down. Or so, it was a jab and I chuckled, but it's, again,
Wait, slow down about what?
well, slow down. Like Sally was having, like, everything was completely beautiful and organized, and Sally had it all together. And I
Oh,
don't even know if it was Sally. I don't know. It was just some
but it
random
might be
thing.
like, hey, Sally, your highlight reel's annoying me.
Yes, it was that it didn't seem like Sally maybe was being authentic. Sally was just showing I mean, I did a color coded schedule just because I like markers. I wasn't trying to
Yeah,
be like, I'm all that, but I did make a little schedule for us here and done a
yeah,
few things like that, but I have not done other things. We all are just doing the best we can.
yeah.
We're all being the best
So,
versions of ourselves.
so our conversation is kind of the foundation or format for it is like, how are we using our time, and what's the right way to use our time, and
Yes.
and talking about time really though is like, are we being judgmental of ourselves? Are we giving grace to ourselves and others? Are we using comparison to try to decide what we should do? And ultimately, are we feeling confident about who we are as people?
Exactly. And I think that was maybe that's why I chuckled, because I could relate to it, because it's like, oh my gosh, I see people doing all these things, and
Yeah.
I have the modality that I can celebrate that. I
Yeah.
think because I do sit in a really confident space, but I also really relate to, yay, yeah, slow your roll. you know. So I
Yeah.
mean, I get both sides of that for sure.
I've said for a long time that and people who know me personally really well know that I do not like judgment. I,
Mm-mm,
I don't like that feeling that I get if I feel judgmental. And
for
so
sure.
I avoid that both in my heart and in my head. I don't like feeling like I am better than someone, and I don't like it when other people imply that either.
Yeah.
So my language is discernment. I use
Yes.
I use
So
that.
good at that. You are so good at that.
Thank you. It's a huge priority for me. I want to take in the information and then discern what makes sense for me, and not think that my decision is somehow better than someone else's decision, because I
Absolutely.
assume they're discerning for themselves and
For
they're
sure.
going to pick out. So I did not create a color coded schedule. There's zero part of me that understand, or that doesn't understand where that would be value. But for me, it was going to be more energy expended to do that and manage it than it was to have it. And so, like
Yeah.
you saying that you have one, I'm like, first of all, I love that you love markers.
Well,
Because
and
that
I just want
is
to clarify,
totally
it's not
something.
necessarily color coded. I just use different
We
colors.
just colored it.
I just want
Yay.
to be real clear. Real
That's
clear.
awesome. So I love that. That's exactly what I was going to say, though.
It was just like with the new school for my
Yeah.
kids.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
all.
Yeah.
I just worked with them one-on-one. I grabbed different I had markers there, and we
Yeah.
said these are your classes, and it was
Yeah.
really more for me, it was just like a fun activity. But I
Yeah.
think there are people who are doing color coordinated
Yeah.
calendars, and I celebrate that too. I just wanted to clarify that it was
I'm
just a colorful
colorful
schedule
schedule.
that has actually sat on my son's desk that probably has not been referenced since the day we did it. But
But here's what I hear you saying. It
it was a
served you that day.
yes, it was a service to us to just have some clarity of
Yeah.
what those days were going to look like. But
And
again,
in that conversation, I imagine you also got to like imply we're in this together.
sure,
I see what you've got to do and I value it, and
sure.
that support is there. And so in our family, like scheduling looked different. I hope everybody in my family is okay with me sharing this personal insight. But so I have a natural tendency to be a night owl. I have put that in its place because it doesn't fit into normal life. When we're not in stay-at-home order, I get up about 6 o'clock. I get up at 5:55 every day, just so y'all know. It's a little tidbit. But I get up at that time, so I have to go to bed earlier at night so that I'm not tired. And yet I know for sure that before I had our family and work and the schedule that is normal life, I love the hours of about 11 to 3 in the morning, 4 in the morning. I get in a groove and I love it. So when we were on spring break before school didn't go back into session, I was using that time because I didn't have to get up in the morning, kids didn't have to get up, and I was rocking it. And then we found out we weren't going to go back to school, and Carl sweetly said, well, we're not going to just be staying up all night and sleeping in all day. And I like raised my hand quietly and said, does that mean me too? Because
Honey.
I really like that time. And here's the thing, I like the choice of that time. Like this morning, I wanted to get up at 5:55. So I went to bed a little earlier last night, and I like the choice of it.
Absolutely.
So in our family, regarding time, rather than make a schedule, we ended up hashing it out, and we decided on one thing. We will eat dinner together every night at 6
I love that.
or around 6.
Yeah.
And everybody can be on kind of their own to figure out what they need. That worked for probably 4 days. No, that's not even true. It was probably 2 days before the first intervention happened. And the thing was, it wasn't an intervention like, okay, I got to step in here and mom. It was one of the girls coming to me saying, I can't do this. I can't figure this out, and needing more support. And so like you said, with colored markers, we actually used the school planner, which was not being used, and just got it on paper.
Sure.
And then looked at our time that way. And that was right for the
Yeah.
time.
I absolutely love that, because it's like you gave an invitation for just to be and just to feel it,
Yeah.
and then kind of make some plans and adjustments of what that time can look like.
Yeah.
So I absolutely love that. And I think we've done that in our own way too. Started out excited, did a plan, and then it's like, okay, that's not working. So we've readjusted too, and we're not even looking at that plan. And I think that's a testament to the time as well. So you can make plans and try to do all those things. And I think it's just we're holding on to some normalness as much as we can right now. So I think that was the intention. But I love just even hearing how you and I approached it so differently. And we have a ton in common. And
Yeah.
I think that's okay. Everybody's doing that. Some people are like my husband he's out, he's working in agriculture. So he's using that time as he always would. I mean, the adjustment is that we're all home in the evenings. And then he's encouraged not to go into the office. So he is working here quite often when he's just on his computer. So that time looks different for him. And thinking about all the people again that are essential and first responders and healthcare providers, and their time is so very different. And I think that's just a good time to celebrate all that uniqueness and all that people do. And
So it reminds me of a big principle for us when we're presenting to, well, whoever we're presenting to, just students, staff, or families, that we always say people over process.
absolutely.
So how many times we've walked into, this is the speaker's journey. I mean, I have embraced this wholly, and I know you have too, but you walk into a situation where you think you have as many variables figured out as possible. So you hope that the presentation is already loaded on a computer and that the audio video is set up and that the room is set and that the people are going to get there at the right time, and every little variable may or may not work out.
No.
And so I remember early on deciding that, like, it is people over process. If we do not have this go the way we think it's going to go in terms of the schedule or in terms of the supplies or whatever, the technology, we're still going to put people first. And if that means that we don't have presentation slides, that means we don't have presentation slides. Would we rather have them? Yes. But would we rather be jerks to people because we're frustrated that we don't have technology? No. So I think maybe that applies here with how we're using our time, in that because this is unfolding like every day, and because there's kind of an invisible, because there's an invisible worry and stress and unknown, that we probably, like, I hadn't thought about it till we're talking, but like, it's the way we're handling our time is it's people over process.
I love that. I hadn't either until you said it. I mean, it's exactly right. And I think that comes naturally for you and I, because that's how we live and that's what we do. And we practiced that before a pandemic, and we're using that now. And so I guess I really want to lean into, for those who are so process oriented and that becomes difficult, not that you're not an incredible human and giving in a lot of ways, but that is so important to you to be able to have that process. So I want to make sure that we're honoring that, and maybe the people tuning in that, not saying people over process is easy.
No. And I'm glad you said it. It makes me want to sit with it before I say anything, because I don't exactly, if you think somebody's crazy, they think you're crazy too, right? Because you're just doing things differently. And where that is something that is so important to me, I'm trying to think of what it looks like and feels like through the lens of being so proud of and pouring so much effort and energy into the process. I mean, I feel like we do that as well, but if the process is necessary in my mind for it to work, then it's really hard to let go of that. And so I'm just trying to think through what that looks like and feels like, and if I can tap into any times in my life where how I'm doing it is more important than who I'm doing it for, or not necessarily more important, but just more in the forefront of my mind. I'm not sure that any of that just made sense. So sorry. I should have just sat with it.
No, and I think it's okay. And I think that's why we want to have these conversations here in this format, is to even for us to kind of, process, so then we can help with those tools and provide some call to actions and and lean into our philosophy. And we've laid a really strong foundation for that. So I actually really like that you're processing it and then can just sit with it, and try to find an example. I think that's great.
Yeah. It reminds me of like when things matter, and maybe I have two merging thoughts, and I don't know if I can keep them clear, but
Ooh, let's hear
how
it.
to try. One is about our conversation yesterday regarding self-care.
Mm-hmm.
We did it yesterday. It was episode 2, if you're watching and trying to find it. So we were talking about self-care. We were talking about the pause and kind of checking in with ourselves. And so maybe regarding time, what we're suggesting is just that, like, make sure that you feel valued enough,
Yeah.
and that you can check in with yourself and say, what do I need this to look like, instead of kind of either going on autopilot or comparing to other people and trying to set it that way, that the
Absolutely.
stronger we can get our confidence up.
Yeah, because comparison can be the biggest thief of joy.
Yeah.
I mean, that quote's huge.
Yes.
And if we need to grasp all the joy and all the treasures we can right now.
Yeah.
So if we start looking at what everybody else is doing,
Yeah.
and it's not fitting for us,
Yeah.
then man, that's just gonna just take that away so quickly. And I think we have to really preserve what we can within our own nest, whatever that looks like right now.
Yeah. So we started the earlier, we were talking about like how we're using our time. And I feel like I am using my time in a way that honors that kind of that pause and what do I need it to look like. And I think you do that really beautifully too.
Thank you.
I'm trying to think through the lens then of somebody who maybe is using their time differently than me, whatever that looks like. If maybe that person's a process-oriented person or driven person, one thing I imagine is like, so I'm thinking of my wedding. I don't know if that's an example that maybe some people can relate to, but because there's a production to it and because it matters so much, it's like a complicated cornucopia of stuff, because you're trying so hard to be present, and it matters. I mean, I remember the look on Carl's face when I started down the aisle, and it's like, I know it. I know that. I love that. I am instantly filled up when I think of it. And the fact that I would have been focused on flowers or what time we need to be out of the reception. What? Who cares? Like but it all mattered a lot at the time because so many people were a part of it. Yeah. And you want it to look a certain way, and you've thought about it and dreamt about it. And I know that's a special occasion, but I kind of think life's that way. It's like we try to make sure this is going to be whatever we imagine it's going to be, and we want it to look a certain way. And especially with social media, there's a bit of a production happening. And so,
and it's a great tool right now. It's a great way to stay connected. And
absolutely,
I mean, it can be really good. And I know you and I are both using it, but there is, again, back to the word discernment.
Yeah.
It's going to be important right now during this time.
Yeah. To be able to like check in with yourself and, so it's not necessarily, I say people over process, but I think as I've gotten older, what I've learned is that if the people are taken care of, whatever the stuff is that happens, I can get comfortable with. But that's just me. I don't know. Like there's legitimately a respect for someone who their process for knowing if they're doing a good job is that these things are taken care of, or that maybe their needs are, these people need to be safe, and I have to do these things in order to know that I'm doing my job, that I'm providing the right environment or whatever. So I just really want to honor that too.
Absolutely.
Just trying to see through another lens that I'm not sure I have. I wish I could, and we talked about this so much, like what we really want is just like to sit down and talk to people. And that's what we get to do when we're like doing our real.
Yeah. And we have done that. We've talked to a lot of people. We've had Zoom calls, and we're staying connected as best that we can. But I know Just
love to
being,
ask good questions. Like,
oh, I
okay,
know. I want to ask people questions so bad.
how are you using your time and what's
Yeah,
working for you? And
that's one of our topics for later. We're going to talk about discovery and curiosity and
yeah,
staying true to that in this time. But
yeah. Well, I hope that this like random segment on time doesn't like feel like it's like what they talk about. Were they talking about
no,
time? But at the same time, I know that when you and I kind of hash stuff out loud, I usually leave later with like a little or a lot of reflection and just kind of, I hope that felt good for you because it feels good for me to just kind of process out loud kind of my thoughts. And
absolutely. And I want to just actually, on that note, take a second and tell you thank you, because our last time we spoke for this series, you had asked your self-care question to yourself was, what do you need? And I did that this morning, and I was amazing because I was like, I have what I need.
yay!
Yeah. So and it didn't take any time. Speaking of time, like it just took a second for me to go there mentally and to get myself set for the day. So I really appreciate you in that. And I think that's kind of ties into our conversation today. And so thank you. But
Yeah.
I think I like that today didn't really have a ton of direction, our topic. And because I think that is what we're dealing with. I mean, every day is different. We learn new things. There's uncertainties, there's unknowns. How we want to set our time for that day. We could have a plan, but it could change. So
Can
I
you hear the water running right now? Can you hear that?
no.
Oh, well, in the previous episode, I heard that happen. That happens in my house right above my head. So
Uh-huh.
it sounds like a waterfall. It's refreshing.
Well, that's lovely.
Yeah. Okay. Sorry about that if you can hear that.
No, I can't. I kind of wish I could. It sounds
Yeah.
glorious.
Lovely. It's coming from the bathroom, but I tell myself it's a waterfall. um, anyway, I want to point out that yesterday when I was talking about asking yourself what you needed, when I went back and listened to it, there was a little bit of like not heaviness, but like gravity to like I know that's a big deal for a lot of people. And then what you just said actually is such a beautiful counterweight to that. What I didn't say yesterday, which is a very real part of my life, is that a lot of times when I check in with myself, what do you need? Oh, I'm refreshed. I'm realizing, okay, I have what I need, or I feel gratitude in that space.
Yes.
And so I love that you said that because that wasn't really part of the conversation yesterday. And when I went back and listened to it, I thought, oh, that sounded a little like maybe daunting for somebody like, well, I don't want to ask myself what I need because it might be like really big and I won't be able to get that.
Well, I mean,
Uh,
I have a lot of things, but I mean, what I need to breathe and to survive,
no,
yeah, it goes back to
yeah,
the gratitude for sure.
absolutely. Totally relative.
Yeah.
Absolutely. There's lots of things that we want and maybe even might need, but to know that I'm okay right now is a really good feeling and something we're going for. So in terms of time, do you have any, I know that you've been exploring some ways that people can tap into their creativity
Yeah.
and really increase their positivity. If somebody's looking for something they can do with their time, that is good and positive, what would you recommend they do?
Well, I guess I would say, kind of for a call to action, a couple things. One, be fluid, be flexible in that, right? Again, because so I'm an artist, creativity comes very natural to me. So that is something I'm trying to do, is make sure I'm having some creative time in the week, not necessarily even every day, but creativity can look so different. My husband's making a speaker for our back deck. He's sketched it. He's cutting things out. Got sawdust all over the garage. He's painted it with bed liner, truck liner. That is his creativity, right? So he's constructing something, he's building something. So I think that I guess want to just lean into that can look different for everybody, but taking care of yourself first, remembering the value and the self-care, and then the people over the process, kind of just summarizing everything we've said today. I think the call to action is just to be true to you, be authentic, try something creative if that feels good to you. And if it doesn't, that's okay too, you know? And I heard the first time I truly cried about this whole situation was one of my son's teachers emailed and he said, I just want to look back on this time and be proud of myself. I get teary just thinking about that. It's just, that's what I want to do. I'm probably not going to remember how I spent every day and how I used my time every day, but I might remember this overall time frame of how I felt about it and how I handled it.
Yeah.
So I guess that's the call to action, is maybe just be proud of how you're using your time and just be the best version of yourself. And if it's long naps or no showers or extra
Or
content,
organizing a drawer, or
absolutely, or color coordinated schedules, or new books, or I mean, I'm a person of excellence. Like for me, that means a lot of content, a lot of information, a lot of movement, a lot of action in harmony with some creative fun things and walks and all of it. So that's just me.
Yeah.
That's just what I do.
Yeah, I think that that's you, and that's your threshold. I've had a couple of people say to me, like, you've already accomplished so much in this time.
Yeah.
And to be honest, it's a little uncomfortable. Like, I'm not sure, what is that, a compliment? Is that a
Yeah.
observation? What is that? I'm not sure. It is a compliment. I have very kind people around me, but my rhythm, the way I stay sane is to do all those things, all the things that I do.
Absolutely. And I think we're similar that way. I mean, we
Yeah.
are.
And so I relate to that, but I also, man, I mean, we've binge watched,
Oh,
I don't know if it's quality TV, but it's been good. I mean,
I'm
it's been
getting it
fun.
in.
Like, but I mean, we have, there's a lot of facets going on, I think, in how we use our time. And I think sometimes people look in at other people's lives and they just see kind of a part.
Sure.
And so I guess because we can't sit down with every single human and find out how they're really experiencing this, I just hope that it's conveyed that who each individual is good.
Absolutely.
Right.
Oh, so good.
And I want the freedom to feel that way about how I'm doing it. And this morning, you would have thought that I had a 45-minute commute this morning. I packed so much into my morning, 10 o'clock meeting, totally not ready. Because of that, everything thrown off, I mean, like, technology doesn't work. And you would think that I was, my time was in a shortage. I haven't really left my house much, and these are choices I'm making, and I don't know that there's that it's a good idea for us to look at each other and compare, but I certainly don't think it's a good idea for us to judge ourselves harshly in this time of unknown and unfolding and figuring out new ways of being.
Absolutely. And I really hope that carries over.
Yeah.
I really, really hope this value of time and this awareness of time will encourage people to be picky and to use their time and to make those choices. And I think there'll be a lot of good that comes from that. But
in addition to the call to action, and like, we just want to like put a stamp on it that says, whoever you are, whatever you're using your time for, we think you're amazing.
Absolutely.
Unless you're hurting people, and then just maybe a brief reevaluation. And that's not judgment. We do believe in goodness and in making good kind ripples.
Absolutely.
But most people are, and certainly our intention as people is to do good, and so we want to celebrate that.
Absolutely. And it's that, I think that's such a cool way to end this conversation too. Like the way you're showing up and what you're choosing every day, you really are rippling even your little community, your culture within your own environment. You are making an impact in what you're putting out there. It does matter. You matter. We all
Yeah.
do.
Yeah. And it doesn't have to be perfect.
No, that's next.
Yeah.
That's our next episode. We're going
Yeah,
to be
we're going
talking
to talk
about
about
perfectionism.
perfection. We're going to talk about perfection, being a perfectionist, versus being a person of excellence,
Okay.
which for people who have heard us talk live is something that we hit on every single time because it is probably one of the things we get the most feedback on.
Yeah,
Um,
it'll be good. I'm excited for
it'll be
that one.
good. Yeah, it'll be a good conversation. Well, I love this time with you,
I
and
do too. Thank you so much.
thank
And
you.
thanks for everybody who tunes in. We really appreciate you. Just circling back to our website, we do have a few resources on our website page. So check that out and follow us on social media, Facebook and Twitter. And we hope you are well. We hope you again see your value and that you're proud of yourself during this time because we're proud of you.
Absolutely.
Okay. Signing off.
Signing off.
Have a great time today.
Awesome.
Bye.
Bye.